The movie begins with a former Special Forces soldier named Levon who wakes up in his car. It appears that he considers his car his home. Then he gets out of the car and opens the door of the site where he works. Here we learn that Levon works as a foreman in a contracting company. It appears that the workers love Levon very much and respect him to the point that one of them gives him food that his wife made especially for Levon. Levon thanks him. Then he talks to the workers and keeps encouraging them and informs them that they have a lot of work today and they must finish it on time. He promises them that if this happens, he will give them a reward and lets them see their work. He enters the office and greets Carla and Joe, the owners of the company. Their daughter Jenny is with them, who is holding the accounts. It is clear from their conversation with Levon that they consider him part of the family. At that moment, Jenny asks John to give her his visa so she can spend from it because she is out with her friends that night, and Levon smiles when Joe replies to Jenny and tells her that he doesn't want her to go out and spend a lot of money, but in front of her insistence. Joe agrees in the end and gives her the visa. At that moment, Levon sees a car stopping at the site and people get out of it who look like a gang and beat up the worker who is bringing Levon breakfast. Levon tries to talk to them calmly to leave the worker alone and go. But one of them insults him and asks him to stay away from this matter, so Levon gets angry and throws nails at them and hits them hard and violently. At that moment, the worker is devastated by what Levon did and reassures Levon and leaves him and goes back to his work. After that, Jenny goes to Levon and it appears that she saw him fighting and asks him if he was a soldier in the army because the movements he did during the fight show that he is professional. She tells him that her grandfather was a former soldier in the army and she saw him doing the same movements before and asks him he teaches her how to defend herself. But Levon ignores her words and asks her not to mention what happened in front of her father and mother. Jenny agrees and gives him food and tells him that her grandmother made it especially for him because her grandmother knows that Levon lives alone and has no one to cook for him. Levon takes the food from her and asks her to thank her grandmother. After Levon finishes work and goes to visit his daughter Mary, he is shocked when he finds her grandfather Jordan throwing a party on the same day he is taking her. He says goodbye to Mary to refuse that she goes out with Levon, but that does not happen. Mary runs and prepares Levon and goes to ride in his car. At that moment, Jordan appears and talks to Levon in a bad way and tells him that he is not reassured when his guardian is with him because he is naughty and problems always follow him. Because of the riots and violence that fill his life, his wife paid the price and died. Jordan tries to provoke Levon to hit him so that he can take advantage of the situation in court and take custody of his daughter from him. But Levon controls his temper and tells him that he is not to blame for his wife's death and leaves him. After that, Levon takes Mary and they go to a restaurant for lunch together. There, he gives her a gift, which is a picture of her with her mother. Mary tells him that she is upset with her mother because she died and left them. She tells him that her grandfather collected all the pictures of her mother and took them. It becomes clear that Levon is sad because of his wife's death. After that, Levon goes to his lawyer's office and tells him about Jordan's behavior with him. The lawyer learns that Jordan has a large team of lawyers who are doing everything in their power to win the custody of his daughter. The lawyer is wondering why Jordan hates Levon so much, so Levon tells him that Jordan thinks he is the reason in the death of his wife, and he knows that his wife died because she got depressed because he was away from her all the time because of his work until she finally decided to hurt herself. So the lawyer suggested to Levon that he talk to Jordan and reconcile between them because he thinks that Jordan will win the custody case. Especially since Levon does not have a place to live, and this will be a main reason for him to lose the case. So Levon gets angry and refuses to reconcile with Jordan and gives money to the lawyer to complete the work on the case and tells him that he will find a solution to the housing problem as soon as possible. Night comes and Jenny goes out with her friends and they go to a bar to stay up late, and at that time Jenny goes to the bar and sits at the club called David on tables for her and her friends, so he tells her if she tells him her name, he will tell her on a table in a special place, so Jenny tells him her name and knows from him the location of the tables and goes back to her friends. And at that moment David sends a message to someone named Viber. Viber works in a human trafficking gang, and as soon as the message reaches Viber, he takes his colleague R and they quickly go to the bar. At that moment, one of Jenny's friends gets tired from drinking too much. So Jenny takes her to the bathroom and tells her that she will wait for her in front of the door until she finishes. As soon as Jenny comes out of the bathroom, Vibu attacks her, continues to harass her, and kidnaps her. The next day, Carla and Joe meet Levon and learn that Jenny has been missing since the previous night and that her friends say that she suddenly disappeared after entering the bathroom at the bar. John asks Levon to stand by them and look for her, as he is a former soldier in the army and has a background in dealing with issues like this. Levon tells him that he stopped this job a long time ago because he might lose custody of his daughter if he gets involved in any violent acts. Joe offers him a lot of money and tells him to take it and look for his daughter, but despite from then on, he refuses and leaves him, and then Levon goes to his friend Johnny in his house in the forest, and we understand from their conversation that Levon took Johnny's life during a military mission they were on together. But unfortunately Johnny lost his sight at that time. However, he still feels grateful to Levon because he saved his life. At that time, Levon tells Johnny about Jenny and what happened to her, and it becomes clear that Levon wants to save her because he really loves her like his own daughter. In addition to the fact that he promised her before that he would stay by her side, but he is confused and afraid that he will lose the custody of his daughter. So Johnny encourages him to save Jenny no matter the consequences. So Levon listens to him. He goes back to Joe, who is watching the video of Jenny playing the piano, and he is sad, and then Levon learns from Joe that Jenny came to her with a scholarship to study music, but she refused in order to help him with the work. So they reassure Levon, and he promises him that he will look for his daughter and will not return until he finds her. Then he takes his car and starts gathering information about Jenny's movements on the day she was kidnapped and arrives at the bar where she was spending the evening before she was kidnapped. There he sees David selling drugs to the people there without anyone seeing him. So Levon concludes that David has something to do with Jenny's disappearance. Levon goes out of the back door of the bar, and there he discovers that the camera wire is cut. So he searches the place and finds a bead fallen from Jenny's necklace. So he understands that she was kidnapped and was resisting her kidnappers. At the end of the evening, David closes the bar and gets in his car. It appears that Levon put a tracking device in the car and is driving off. David is behind him, and Levon is able to open the door of the house without David noticing him. At that moment, David is shocked when he finds Levon entering with a gun in his hand. He takes his gun from him before he reaches him. Levon comes out to him with Jenny's wall and asks him about the people who kidnapped her. David tells him that he doesn't know anything about this matter and also tells him that he told the police everything and that he has nothing else to say. But Levon knows that he is lying, so he takes him to the bathroom and puts him in the bathtub, covers his face, and runs the water on him. Here, David tells him that the people who kidnapped Jenny are very dangerous people and advises him not to look for her because if they know her, they will kill his entire family. But Levon ignores him and asks him to tell him the name of one of them. At that moment, two of David's acquaintances arrive and call him. As soon as David hears their voices, he screams loudly for them to save him. They grab Levon and he walks in front of him and gets out of the bathroom, and at that moment the two of them open fire without hesitation and kill David. So Levon shoots them and finishes them off and then takes the money they have with them, and when he sees the tattoos on their bodies, he knows that they belong to the Russian mafia, and Levon remains standing in a place near David's house until the next day. And at that moment he sees two people getting out of a car with their leader, whose name is Volo. So Levon watches them until they enter David's house, and the faces of the house. Volo gets angry when he sees his men dead in front of him. And when he discovers that the money is not there, he understands that this is a robbery and asks his men Danny and Vanko to find the person who did this as soon as possible. And at that moment Levon sees a cleaning company car, and two girls get out of it to clean David's house from the bodies and hide the traces of the crime that happened. And at that moment Volo goes out with Denny and Vanko and they get in the car and leave the place quickly, so he leaves. Levon follows them in his car until they reach Volo's house. So Levon stops in a place near the house and takes their car equipment and goes to hide among the trees and watches Volo's house and sees him hitting his wife. After his wife leaves, Levon enters the house, and as soon as he sees Volo, he pours coffee on his face and hits him and makes him faint. When Volo wakes up, he finds Levon tied to a chair and tied with a rope over the swimming pool. At that moment, Levon removes the tape from Volo's mouth and asks him if he knows who he is. Levon replies and tells him that he knows him well and also knows that he works for the Russian mafia gang. Volo makes him understand that he made a big mistake when he killed his men and stole his money, and this will turn his life into hell and his whole family will die. But Levon does not care about what he says and is not afraid and hits him in the face and tells him that this is his punishment because he beat his wife. And then throws in David's face the money he took from Bite David and tells him that he doesn't need his money for anything and shows him a picture of Jenny. And tells him that he wants this girl back to her family and tells him that she was kidnapped in the bar where they distribute drugs. Here, Volo gets angry and talks about a person named Demi and keeps saying words in Russian. Levon tells him that he doesn't understand anything he is saying and asks him to hand over Jenny to him and he will let him live, but Volo gets angry at Levon and curses him. So Levon cuts the rope and leaves him to drown in the swimming pool. As soon as Levon leaves the house, he takes out his phone and shows that he was recording Volo's words and translates them so that he can understand him. At that moment he knows that Demi is the one behind Jenny's disappearance. After a while, the cleaning company comes and removes Volo's body and hides the traces of the crime. At the same time he arrives. Simon is Volo's brother, and at that moment we know that Danny and Vanko are Simon's sons and they are apologizing to him for his brother's death. Simon enters the house saddened by his brother's death and then sees the camera recordings that show Levo killing Volo. Simon is very surprised by Levon's newspapers and wants to know the reason that made him kill his brother, so Simon asks his sons to bring Levon alive because he wants to take revenge on him himself. At that moment we see Jenny in the place where she was kidnapped and enters while she is disguised and gives her food and new clothes and pulls out her gun and threatens Jenny with it and tells her that she must eat and wear these new clothes or she will kill her. At the same time Levon calls one of his colleagues who were with him in the army and who is currently working in combating drugs and asks him about Demi. So his friend tells him about the bar that Demi owns and distributes in it without hesitation. Levon goes to the gang at night, and at that time Artie is watching the security cameras and suspects Levon when she notices that he is carrying a weapon in his pocket, so she asks her colleague, Chitty, to go and see what Levon wants. As soon as Chitty sits next to Levon, Levon takes out a bundle of money and puts it in front of him. Chitty understands that Levon wants to buy drugs, so he takes him and goes with him to the gang leader, whose name is Dutch. At that moment Artie informs Dutch that Levon has a weapon and tells him that she suspects that he is from the police. Dutch asks Levon about the need for the weapon that he is carrying. And they know that Levon is carrying a weapon to protect himself from the thieves because he has a lot of money. So Dutch asks him to empty his pockets in front of him to make sure that he is not a police officer, but Levon refuses and is about to leave. But Dutch orders his men to attack him, and at that moment Levon engages in a fierce fight with Dutch's men. And none of them can stand in front of him until Levon grabs one of them and is about to kill him. Here, Dutch shouts to stop the fight and approaches Levon and tells him that his fighting skills are much higher than any police officer. And he guesses that he served in the army before, so Levon tells him that he is a former soldier and currently deals in drugs and has many clients in Chicago. He tells him that he needs a quantity of drugs because the person who is financing him was arrested. And he makes him understand that he will take large quantities from him every month. He tests Dutch and tells him a certain price. And Levon tells him that this price is much higher than the price in Chicago. So he understands here. Dutch tells Levon that he is a real drug dealer and gives him an appointment at a certain cafe the next day to deliver the goods. The next day, Levon goes to the cafe according to the appointment, and there he meets Artie and Chitty and gives them the money. They give him a phone and tell him that he will receive a call and he will know the delivery location. Levon takes the phone and warns them that they will betray him and leaves them and leaves. After that, Levon gets in his car and finds Dutch calling him and telling him that the drugs are under the chair he is sitting on, and he tells him that he had to do this to make sure that no one is watching him. And he tells him that he will call him the next day to agree on a way to deliver the large quantities. Levon ends the call and throws all the drugs in the river. At night, Viper and Artie deliver Jenny to the customer who bought her, whose name is Gart. When they ask him about the meaning of this particular girl that he wants, he tells them that he is when he saw her picture. He thought of a painting he loves, and he gives them a bag full of money and gold and leaves them alone and goes to open the bag that contains Jenny, but Jenny hurts his face as soon as he gets close to her. So Jenny takes out the bag for Viper and Artie and yells at them and asks them to take her from his house and kill her. At that time, Levon is in a simple apartment in a remote place, hanging the pictures and information he collected on the wall, and at that time, he receives a call from Dutch, and he tells him the time and place where he will meet his boss's boss to receive the amount of drugs that he requested the next day. Levon goes to the place, which is a very luxurious restaurant, and Levon notices that the whole place is full of men with weapons, and then he is searched before he meets the leader of his friends, and at that moment, he is surprised when he finds out that the leader is Dim, whom he is looking for. Before any talk between them, Levon takes out the money for the drugs and hands it to Dutch, so Dim asks Levon that Yuri gives him his ID card. So Levon gives him a fake ID card from the one he used when he was working in the army. One of Dima's men takes it to have it checked, but the card is very professionally forged to the point that the man goes back to Dima and tells him that it is fine. Here, Dima greets Levon and gives him the bag of drugs and tells him that he is happy because there will be a lot of work between them. After that, Levon goes to throw the drugs in the bathroom and gets rid of them and returns to his apartment. He keeps looking at pictures of Jenny and her friends when they were in the bar. At that moment, he sees Viper in the pictures and is looking at Jenny, very focused on her. He opens David's phone and learns that David was communicating with Viper, which means that Viper is the one who kidnapped Jenny. Levon learns that Viper appears in the same bar where the Dutch gang is, so he goes to the bar and sits in his car to watch the place until Viper appears. But Artie discovers his presence through the surveillance cameras, and we know that Artie has information that Danny and Funko are looking for Levon. So she calls them and tells them that Levon is standing in front of a bar in his car. They arrive quickly, and as soon as Levon sees them, he gets out of the car and steals a motorcycle from in front of the bar and runs away, but Danny and Funko get into their car and chase him and keep shooting at him. But Levon knows how to escape from them until he suddenly hits a police car and falls to the ground. At that moment, Levon is shocked when he finds the police handing him over to Danny and Funko, taking money from them, tying him up and taking him with them in their car. They tell him that Folo, whom he killed, is their uncle. So Levon mocks them and the way they dress, so they get angry at his words and attack him to beat him. But Levon hits them very hard, so Dan tries to shoot Levon, but he catches Levon, takes his hand and pulls it away from him. And the bullet hits the car's driver and blows his brains out, and then the car turns on all of them, but Levon manages to kill Danny and Vanko, and then free himself, gets out of the car, and throws it into the river. When Simon discovers that his children are dead, he becomes sad and orders a meeting with the rest of the mafia leaders. At this time, Viper and Artie are with Demi, who is upset because Jenny Awart was in the car. Then Viper tells him that this mistake will not happen again and tells him that he and Artie will take her and they will get rid of her, and then they will look for another girl and hand her over to Greta. We go back to Simon, who is in a meeting with the mafia leaders or informs them of what happened, and one of them decides to send with him two of the best fighters, who are Nestor and Sefi. And they know that they will get rid of the person who killed his brother and his children, so he takes them. Simon, they go to Demi because he will definitely know where Levon is. especially since he was standing in front of his hen house. At that moment, we find out that Demi is the son of Volo, whom Levon threw into the pool. It appears that Demi has a constant dispute with his father because he is happy with the news of his death. But when Demi finds out that Levon killed Danny and Funk, his cousins, he is shocked and tells Lemon that Levon introduced himself as a drug dealer and shows him a picture of his ID card, which he confirmed the day he met him. Simon responds and tells him that Levon was following him and because of him, his brother and 2 sons died. He leaves him and walks away. After that, Nestor and Sefi are able to reach all the information about Levon. The next day, they leave. At Jordan's house, Levon's fever sets in. At that moment, Levon is driving his car and receives a call from the school. He learns that Jordan didn't go to pick Mary up like every day. So Levon quickly goes to his daughter's school and picks her up to take her to her grandfather's house. On the way, Mary is surprised that her grandfather didn't come to pick her up. Levon gets worried and feels that something wrong is happening. When he arrives at Jordan's house, he finds the whole house on fire. He gets out of the car and enters the house. He finds Jordan handcuffed and lying on the ground in front of him. He carries him and quickly takes him out of the house. After that, Jordan tells Levon that the Russian mafia did this to him and he keeps blaming him because what happened was his fault. However, Mary replies to her grandfather and tells him that Levon saved him from death. Jordan realizes his mistake and apologizes to Levon. After that, Levon gets in the car with his daughter and goes to his friend Johnny. At that moment, Levon tells Johnny everything that happened and tells him that he has finally reached Demi and they know that Demi is involved in human trafficking and he definitely knows where Jenny is. So they take Johnny to the weapons store and ask him to choose the weapons and equipment he needs for the mission. After that, Levon goes out to say goodbye to Marie and Johnny and asks him to take care of his daughter. At night, we find Viper and Artie taking Jenny to a faraway place to kill her, but Jenny kicks them until they hit a tree with the car. She manages to free herself and escapes from them. Jenny keeps coming until she finds a police car in front of her, but unfortunately, they are the same corrupt policemen who work for Demi's gang. They take her and hand her over to Viper and Artie, who are about to finish her off. But they receive a call from a neighbor telling them that he has changed his mind and wants them to return Jenny to him. At the same time, Time brings Levon to the bar where Demi is and he hears him fighting with a girl sitting with them. So Levon moves calmly and kills Demi's men until he finishes them all, then Demi grabs the girl with him and threatens to kill her. But Levon ignores him and shoots him in the hand that is holding the gun and injures him severely. Levon asks the girl to take the money and leave, then Levon sits with Demi and shows him a picture of Jenny and asks him about her. So he tells him that he doesn't know her but he knows the place where the customers who buy the girls he kidnaps hang out. And he tells him that it is a secret gambling club where businessmen from all over the world gather. So they take Levon in his car to show him the way to the club. Then they arrive at the place and Levon gets out of the car and takes Demi with him and stops him in front of him and asks him how does he trade in girls and they are his commodity? So Dim tells him that all he cares about is money, so they shoot Levon and finish him off. Then he takes his bag to storm the place where Jenny is. At the same time, Dutch receives a call and learns what Levon did and also learns that he took Dim and they went to the gambling club. So Dutch gathers all his men to go and finish off Levon. In the club, Arkar goes and takes him with her to the room where Jenny is locked up. At that moment, Jenny is tied up by her hands and he approaches her. Grit wants to torture her. This is his punishment for her because she hurt him in the face. But suddenly they hear the sound of a bomb exploding in the place. Levon is the one who detonated the bomb and storms the club and finishes off any of his men. The puppet he finds in his way. At that moment he thinks that everyone is terrified and quickly leaves the place. This is in the time when Dutch and his men arrive and enter the club. But Levon moves quickly and with high skill and is able to eliminate all of Dutch's men in seconds. After that he engages in a violent fight with Dutch. Dutch is very strong and keeps hitting Levon, but Levon is able to control him and kill him. After that, he moves from the place to find Jenny. At that moment, he hears her screaming from inside the room, so he goes to her quickly. As soon as he sees Guard in front of him, he shoots him and eliminates him. After that, he grabs Viper and beats him until he dies in his hand. As for Jenny, Artie grabs her legs and strangles her until she dies. At that time, Nestor and Sefi arrive at the place and the corrupt police are behind them. As soon as Sefi sees them, he opens fire on them without thinking and blows up the car with them in it. The club's leaders free Levanginny from her chains and take her with him to leave the club. But Petty is surprised that Nestor and Sefi they open fire on them, so they hide and Levon uses the camera in his hotel and aims at Sefi and shoots him, killing him. He then grabs a bomb and throws it at Neston, blowing him up and finishing him off. Then he leaves the club with Jenny and takes her behind on the motorcycle. They leave, but at that moment, Simon sees them and calls the mafia leader and tells him what happened. He answers him and tells him that their mission is over and that they have nothing to do with the girl or the man with her. Simon tells him that he must avenge the death of his brother and sons. The mafia leader realizes that they have nothing to do with his personal revenge and thinks that the mafia's interest is more important. He asks him to forget the matter and that whoever finishes him will be him. Simon is forced to keep quiet and ends the call, shouting loudly out of anger. The next day, Levon arrives at Jenny's family's house and they are all surprised. They hug her and thank Levon for what he did. Then Levon returns to his daughter and greets his friend Johnny and his wife. They sit and eat together, very happy. The movie ends. Don't forget to follow our channel and see the summary next.